Good morning, friends. Today we're going to talk about Buffer. And Buffer is one of my favorite tools to recommend to all my clients to really make social media sharing and social media consistency a manageable task. One of the biggest issues I hear from my clients is, well, I'd love to do more social media, but it takes so much time. I don't know how, I just simply don't have the time to uh, go in and post, make all those individual posts. How can I make it simpler? And Buffer is really a great way of doing that. What it allows you to do is to just simply um, to draft and schedule numerous posts across a variety of social media platforms from just one dashboard. And it also integrates well with some other tools, which I'll get into in a little bit. But let's get started from the very basics, setting up your Buffer account. And for demonstration purposes, I'm going to set up a new one. I'm going to use this email address. And I'm going to do oops, can't use that one. So I'm going to use this one. I know it doesn't have it. Helps if we follow the directions here and get all the criteria. Okay. And sign in. I'm going to save that. Run through here. How did we find out? Work colleague. Okay, and the very first thing they want you to do is to connect your social media accounts. So let's get rolling with that. Facebook page, yes. So it's going to ask me, continue as Cassie Conroy, yes. And I admin a number of pages, so I'm only going to select my business page, which is Cassie Conroy. Next. What is Buffer allowed to do? Manage your pages, publish as you, receive your email address, no. Access your insights, yes. And I don't want my personal profile in here, but I do want my business page. So that's an important distinction, especially if you're a solopreneur like myself. You may be using your personal name as your trade name. So just be extra careful when you are making that selection to add the profile to your Buffer account. And I'm going to continue. I'm going to connect my Twitter. Whoops. I'm trying to remember what my password is. Remember me, sign me in. There we go. Not.com. Okay, there's my Twitter, and the next one I'm going to add is my LinkedIn. And I do not personally have a LinkedIn page at this point for my business, but most businesses do. So if you have a separate trade name for your business, or you work with you're part of a larger entity, you would want to add both your LinkedIn profile, which is your personal information, and your LinkedIn page, which is your company information. In this case, since I only have the profile at this time, I'm going to just select the profile. I think that's it. Boom, and there we go. So there are all my profiles. So now when I go and I start drafting and scheduling social media posts, I can do it either, these are going to be the options of where I can have that content posted. Now, if I was going to create an original post that I just wanted to share with my audience, say for example, I have a series that I do called Tip of the Week, and we're going to go in here and we're going to find tip. I think I did TOW. Okay, Tip of the Week, and these little sub references at the end of each image indicate what they're sized for, because there are different dimensions for images in every social media platform. So you want to be mindful of that when you're adding, when you're creating original posts instead of curating or sharing from another source, that you are using the correctly sized image for that platform so that it doesn't get distorted. In this case, this tip of the week, we're just going to go in and do, let's do LinkedIn, because I post mostly on LinkedIn as a B2B. So I'm going to add my image. I'm going to expand it so I can read it. Okay, the most important question is how you can bring value to your audience. Recently posted this. So that's the image that's going to show when I when I post this on LinkedIn. And so I'm going to add some lead-in text. And I would say something like, how are you? And in LinkedIn, it's important to use hashtags when you can. Oftentimes people on LinkedIn will follow because people are more protective of their connections on LinkedIn. So while they may not want to follow a specific person or connect with a specific person, they may instead follow a hashtag for a topic that person or a group of people post under, because it's a topic of interest to them. So in this case, I would my hashtag would be content marketing. And that should be enough for this particular post. Now, if I wanted to post the same graphic on Twitter and on Facebook, I would just click on those profiles and it adds them to my dashboard. And I would then create a similar, not necessarily the same, but a similar lead-in text that would speak to that particular audience in the appropriate tone for that platform. And then I would go in and I would edit that image to the image of that same graphic, but the one that's sized for that specific platform. So again, we want it to not be distorted. But for the purpose of showing you how to schedule, I'm just going to stick with this LinkedIn post. So we're going to deselect these two. Now, when you are scheduling in LinkedIn, you have a number of different options. If I clicked here on Add to Queue, it would automatically schedule the post based on the algorithm that Buffer has in terms of to determine when is the best time to post that particular message based on what you already have scheduled in your queue. So you can do that, you can share it right away, or you can go in and click on schedule post and manually schedule the date and time that you want it to appear in your feed for that platform. Okay, and so I'm just going to put schedule to add into my queue. And if I go up here and I click on queue, so it's going to show me I have one pending here in LinkedIn. If I click on queue, oh, it's going to show me down here since I only have one set up in here. Normally, if you would have several in your queue, it would give you a calendar view and it would show you all the dates and times of when those posts are scheduled to be shared with your audience on the individual platforms. But since we only have one, it's going to show this post is scheduled today at 10:41 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Over here, I have the ability to override that and share it now. I can click on edit to edit any part of the post, whether it be the text, the image, or the scheduling, or I can simply delete it. And in this case, since this is just for demonstration purposes, I don't want this post to go, so I'm going to delete it. It asks me to confirm, and I will say yes. So then when we look back over here at my LinkedIn lineup, it's back to 0. So another really great thing about Buffer also is that they offer a Chrome extension. Let me go up here to Google, and I'm just going to type in Buffer Chrome extension. And it'll take me over here, and it will ask me to add to Chrome. Click there, add extension. Boom, and you see it pops right up here. Share with Buffer. And this is super interesting because as we're working around the web and we find something that might be interesting to our audience that we want to share with them, we can, it's going to ask me which one I want to add it to. Whew. It's a little bit of an inception situation here. It says me if I want to share Buffer through Buffer. Probably not. So let me just open a random page here on my browser. I'll find an article that will be interesting in HubSpot. Okay. So say I wanted to share this WordPress alternative article with my audience. I could click on Buffer. And what happens when you click on that Chrome extension is it automatically populates this URL into your Buffer dashboard and sets it up. And when you do that, it's going to fire up all of the profile. In my case, I have all three of my social media profiles, with the assumption that I want to share it with everybody. But you don't have to. And if I chose not to include Facebook, I would just simply deselect it. In this case, I think I'm going to just for the sake of demonstration. And what I wanted to show you as well is that when you use the extension, it can show you the differences in how Buffer populates the various auto-populates, I should say, content into the various platforms. For example, with LinkedIn, it gives you a nearly ready-made post. So it's going to pull the primary graphic from that piece of content, from that URL. It's going to give you the title of the article, the source of the article, and even a little snippet of summary snippet. It also gives you the opportunity to change that image if you so choose, and it will give you a number of options. None of these in this particular are that great, but when in doubt, stick with the original. It also will auto-populate the title of the article and give you a shortened URL. And that shortened URL is really important because it saves you character space. Now, in LinkedIn, it's not as important, but as we know in Twitter, even though they have extended the character limit, you still are limited. So anywhere you can save space on characters, it's beneficial. And also a smaller URL is just more visually appealing. So in the case of HubSpot, or excuse me, in the case of LinkedIn, I would just go in, I'd bump this down a little bit. I would add my commentary about this particular article and why I feel it's important. Basically, a heads up, an intro as to why I think it's important to my audience. And then I would add whatever hashtags I felt were appropriate. Moving on to Facebook, Facebook doesn't auto-populate anything. If you want to click on this message, they'll give you the whole backstory of why that is. But similarly to the last step in a LinkedIn post, you want to just go in, add your introductory text to your audience, speaking to your audience directly, and add any appropriate hashtags as well. Lastly, with Twitter, they're going to give you a variety of different media to choose from. And usually the first one is the one, whoops, not that, is the one that I go with. And they're going to give you a very small snippet of basically what the title of the article is. You can bump it down, add your intro text and any hashtags that you feel are appropriate, and you are off to the races. And I think you have 260 characters, if I'm correct, in Twitter. And then when you have those all set to go, again, you can choose to auto schedule them by adding them to your queue. Oh, it's telling me I don't have anything in there. You'll have things in there. No worries. Add them to your queue. And in this case, okay, it's saying, great, all your posts have been added to your queue. So I want to bump back over to, if I wanted to see where those were, I would go back into Buffer. Oopsies, what's going on here? Buffer publish. Where publish? Oh, they're there, and it's prompting me. I want to go in and add some text to that. So, and normally in the normal course of action, you would certainly add text to that Facebook post before you go ahead and schedule it. I click on Twitter. It's going to tell me I have one and when it's going to be published. And Facebook, again, it's going to tell me when it will be published. And again, in any case where you have more than one per platform that's scheduled, it will show you in more of a calendar layout of when, what day and what time they are scheduled to be posted. And just like when you create an original post in Buffer, you still have the same options where you can delete, you can edit the time, you can edit the post, or you can choose to share it now. And that's about it. Thanks very much.